Today we are back at it with more progress on the HO scale switching layout. I add dirt roads, grade crossings, and I even scratch build a chain link fence. There is plenty to cover in today's episode, as I always say, so let's get started. A few weekends ago there was a train show here in northern Colorado, and of course I had to stop by. One of my favorite vendors that was there was Model Scenery World, and that's because they have a ton of 3D printed items. And of course, besides the shopping part of it, there were some great layouts and some cool trains to see as well. These are the 3D printed items that I picked up. I got lots of cones, pallets, and even some parking spot blocks. And one thing I was really happy to find were two of these skid steers. Surprisingly enough, they are actually HO scale. Now it's time to get some work done on the layout. I'll be starting out with adding a nice little dirt road over the already laid dirt. This idea comes from a rail fan, Brady, here on YouTube, and he mentioned this idea in the comments in the last video, so that's where the inspiration comes from. To make this dirt road that looks well traveled on, I'll be using my dirt with grout mix, but with double the grout mix. Before any dusty work like this, I like to remove any model accessories. Then using my sifter, I can apply an even layer over the already existing dirt. You can see the color difference is pretty significant. Although once it is dry, it won't be as light colored. Isopropyl alcohol gets applied, and Mod Podge with water immediately after. The road is now completely dry, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. But there is no lollygag in here. We're now going to make the chain link fence to separate the two properties. I'll be using this hobby wire and this nylon tulle. I bought the hobby wire at Hobby Lobby, and I imagine you could get the tulle there as well. I went with this hobby wire because they're already straight right out of the package. The vertical parts of the fence are 1 inch long, and the crossbars are 1.5 inches long. I'm using that little HO scale container as a stopper, just so I don't cut longer than the actual needed amount. The next thing I did was tape all the pieces together so I can sand them down, which will make them all the same length. The metal rods can now be placed in formation on some scrap wood. The reason for the scrap wood is because I'll be soldering, and the wood won't melt like my cutting mat. All of the pieces are tacked down with this tacky gum-like stuff, which is usually used for putting up posters. After the tedious task that is putting this together, I now have a 9-inch section that's ready for soldering. As it turns out, it will fit perfectly here along the asphalt. Soldering is always stressful, and I will say that getting and using some flux paste will make this job a lot easier. I didn't have any, but in the end, I still got it done. It is all put together and soldered together, and my little buddy thinks it's some kind of toy. Adding the nylon tulle is the easy part of this build. You just need to cut it with a straight edge, and you're all good. Any excess can be trimmed off later once it's glued. I use tacky glue to glue it down, but I use a very light amount because if you do use more, it will be noticeable. And just like that, we have something that resembles a classic looking chain link fence. I did forget to mention that I made the middle post longer, and the reason for that is so I have something to stick into the foam. Painting is up next, and I'll be using Rust-Oleum flat gray primer. The key is to go very, very light with the spraying. Now it looks like a proper fence. Installation is easy because of that longer middle post. While I'm at it, I add some fun small details like cones and a porta potty. It's a very small detail and very insignificant in some ways, but fences are one of those things that really make a scene look real. Next up is painting the track so I can add a grade crossing. I'll be using Tamiya flat brown with an airbrush. Like Boomer Dioramas, I thinned down the paint with some isopropyl alcohol. He does have a lot of tips for airbrushing, so I do suggest checking out his videos where he talks about it. Airbrushing in and of itself is an art form, and I'm definitely still learning. I will say that it's one of the best tools to have in this hobby for things like this. Before the Tamiya paint fully dries, I clean the top of the rails with a wood dowel. The track looks so much better after it's painted. I did also paint all the track to the left of the grade crossing as well. That does include the bridge, which has been not painted for about a year, so it's about time that it gets painted. Now that the track is painted, I can add the wood grade crossing. They do come out the box looking pretty brand new, so we will have to weather them, and I'll be doing that with some Vallejo burnt umber. I will have to come back in the future to weather them more, but this will at least be a good start. Tacky glue is then used to glue these to the tracks. For the price, I would say that these aren't fully worth it. I think there are some better options for better prices, but that's just my opinion. While the tacky glue dries, I decided to move one of my trees, which thankfully is easy because I don't glue my trees down anymore. And I also added some grass tufts around the area. The last thing to accomplish is adding more dirt and grout mix so we can finally finish this road. I'll be adding enough to make sure that the road has a gradual incline. And just like that, we have a nice little dirt road that goes over the tracks. And we also have a new fence to separate the road and the industry property. As I always say, there is plenty of details to add and also weathering to do, but it's all about taking small steps each day to achieve an end goal of a realistic layout. Enjoy the GP40 testing out the new grade crossing and traveling along the tracks. Thank you for watching, and I will see you guys in the next layout build episode.